So today we are going to talk about some of the vulnerability assessment and how exactly what should be the way or what should be the perception while taking care about the assessment. That is the major thing what we are going to discuss today. The next is I'm going to discuss with the different kind of the attacks which are being listed by the OWASP and how exactly those attacks are taken care about. So there are the different kind of tools. Whenever you say that, okay, you do have the written permission, you do have the written permission to do the vulnerability scan onto the particular product, and that particular product you are going to. So, for as a vulnerability assessor, so what is going to be or what are going to be your primary responsibility, or how to take care about the way by which the you are going to go into the detail of looking at the different kind of vulnerabilities. So the first step what we are going to take care about or the initiation or the initial assessment. So what this particular initial assessment is going to do. So the first step always going to be the information gathering. So what do you mean by the information gathering? Information gathering means you are trying to gain the knowledge of how exactly that system is performing. Fine. So this is what exactly the information gathering you are going to do. So when you take care about the information gathering, so you need to understand how exactly the system is performing. You need to understand how exactly the the different kind of loopholes which are present there to take care about which can be exploited by the attackers. You need to understand who are the potential customer for this particular product. You need to understand how exactly the product is being accessed. You need to understand how exactly the risks are going to, or the risks are going to be have impact, or what is exactly the risk appetite. So you need to understand the the loss because of that particular risk ignorance, the loss because of that particular the risk reduction, the loss because of that particular risk mitigation. So basically you need to identify. So when you say the threats are nothing but the risk into the vulnerabilities. So now let's talk about the what exactly, how to take care about that kind of initial assessment. So I'm not able to share, I do not know why, but I'm not able to share my Word document right now. Fine. Let me share my entire screen. Are you able to see my Word document? Dear students, are you able to see my Word document?
Ma'am, we are able to see the team screen right now.
Okay. Let me do yeah, it is open now. Are you able to see now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So the very first thing what you need to understand is when you take care about the vulnerability assessment. So let me write it down here. The first thing you need to understand that information gathering which is required for initial assessment. Fine. So when you say, information gathering, so the first part of this particular information gathering is you need to identify the assets, right? Because when you take care about the exploitation of, your functionalities, so somewhere it is actually affecting the assets for your system. or assets into your organization. Now, and then there is a value. So now there is a difference. There is a difference between the cost of an asset and the value. So, for example, if I would like to say that, okay, I'm actually implementing the firewall. So, I'm implementing the firewall because these are the systems, these are the asset to me, and for this particular implementation of the firewall, the asset, if I'm going to lose, whatever the user credentials, or let's say because of that particular attack, I'm losing one of the system. Let's talk about that. I'm losing entire system. So maybe because of the rootkit attack, maybe because of the any other attack, that system is not performing well. Fine, so I lost my entire system. So what I need to take care about, I need to again format the system. I need to I need to build that system so that the testing can be done onto that particular system, and so on and so forth. So this is the asset. So whatever, again, I need to have the patches, I need to have the particular infrastructure, I need to have whatever I need to I require to build an infrastructure for that particular system. That is a cost of asset. Okay, these many of the things I do require, and for those many of the things I need to pay. So that is nothing but the cost of an asset. The value of an asset, that means just because of the attack onto that particular system, how much data I'm losing. Am I losing the millions of records? Am I losing the 100,000, the millions of the whatever the value is? So in this is the thing what you need to understand. So when you take care about the identifying the asset, you are identifying the asset which can be exploited and may go with the possible loss. But with those assets, you need to identify the value as well. That because of the exploitation or because of losing that particular asset, what is the value of the data what you are losing? So you need to understand the difference between the cost of an asset. You need to understand the difference between the cost of an asset as well as the value. So this is the job of your initial assessment, which is going to take care about the information gathering. The first step is identify the assets, the cost of an asset and the value. Which kind of processes are accessing product? As simple as that, that which kind of processes are accessing the product. This you need to understand. Is this product, suppose I am taking care about the HR management system. Fine. The HR management system can be accessed only via the LAN or the internal network or the network within the office premises. It is not available to the public network at all, because it is going to be a product which is getting utilized by the company employees. So I need to understand that which kind of processes are accessing the product as well as the scope of that product. Scope of the product means which kind of transaction the product can handle. If I take care about the HR management system again, so HR management system can handle the leaves, HR management can handle the PF, can handle the salary, and so on and so forth. So what is the scope of the product, what it can handle? So if I'm losing any of the asset, so what is the impact of that asset? So this is a point of, or this is going to be into the information gathering, or you say the initial assessment for that particular to understand the vulnerability of that particular product. So if someone asks you why the initial assessment is required, the initial assessment helps you to identify the assets, the cost of an asset and the respective value. Again, it is going to see the which kind of processes accessing the product, the scope of the product. So basically, you need to work with these things. One is the risk appetite. So the question could be that what exactly the risk appetite is. Now, you need to understand all the risk cannot be mitigated or all the risk cannot be reduced. Some of the risk needs to be accepted as well. Suppose now, for example, I get a project and I need to build a data center. Fine, I need to build a data center, and I have seen the physical location for that particular data center. That where should I build it? Now think about it. That location is going to have quite different kind of earthquakes, and the weather is also quite extreme. But everyone has suggested to have, or the management has suggested to have this particular data center, this particular location only. So I'm aware of that, okay, there is a risk. There is a risk of the natural hazards. So when I say, okay, the earthquake could be there, the weather is going to be quite extreme. So the availability of the data center may go. But since your management is approving that you need to move ahead with this particular location, you need to have. So in that case, you are going to accept the risk. So risk appetite is nothing but at what particular time or at what level the organization is ready to accept the risk. So in the vulnerability assessment, so here also the one portion you are going to go with the risk as well. So which is going to say that in the information gathering you can say that how much the organization can accept the risk. This you need to understand. Are you getting all the students? We are discussing quite new but quite interesting things to take care about. Hello. Hello, my dear students.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah, are you getting me? Are you with me?
Yes,
The
ma'am. Yes.
yeah. The next thing what you need to understand. Fine. Now I can say, okay, I'm doing the vulnerability assessment. I have found this particular vulnerabilities. But before I do the vulnerability assessment, the organization has given me the various during the information gathering that how many risks can be there, and what is the tolerance level of the risk. So when you say the tolerance level, that means the risk affordness. How many risks you can afford means what? What is the impact of those many of risk? So you can say here the affordability of risk. That you need to understand. If it is impacting more on the business, if it is impacting more on the business, then you need to take care about how exactly the things are. So whenever you take care about the security, so in the security, human value is most. Okay. So whenever you take care about the human is the most valuable, you can say the you can say the entity into entire business. And after that, the business continuity comes into the picture. Right? So when you take care about the vulnerability assessment, you need to see when you say affordability of the risk, that means for how long your business can continue if this particular vulnerability is being exploited. This you need to address, which is nothing but the affordability. Just now we have discussed that, okay, I have seen the physical location for my data center. And now I'm aware of that, okay, the physical location is going to have some of the earthquake. But what is the frequency of those earthquakes? And based on those earthquakes, what is the loss? What I'm going to get? So the frequency what I need to address. So here I need to take care about the loss expectancy. So I can say single loss expectancy, or you say it is nothing but SLE. So what do you mean by that? You need to take care about that if it is happening very infrequently. So what is the loss what I'm going to have just because of earthquakes? And then because of the earthquake, if it is happening quite frequent in a year, so what is the ALE or annual loss expectancy? Based on that, I can take care about what are the risk mitigation strategies or the, you can say, policies that you need to understand. So for suppose exactly, if I say I'm moving to the data center with having the natural hazards, so in that particular sense, but the frequency of earthquake is once in a year, let's say, or you know, in 2 years or in 3 years, there is only a single, I can say, I can just guess that earthquake is going to be only for one time in 2 to 3 years. If there is going to be the earthquake based on the historical data or based on the weather conditions, what is the severity level of that particular earthquake? And if based on that particular severity, how I can take care about the availability of my data center? So I need to address this particular issue. Okay, what are the chances? How much data I'm going to lose? For how long my system is not going to be available? And if this is the case, and if you say that, okay, I can go for 2 to 3 hours, even if the data is not available, fine, then no need at all to take care about the different kind of, mitigation. I can accept the risk easily. That's a risk appetite. The second thing, if I say, no, I cannot afford to lose any of the data. So in that case, you just avoid to have the same physical location. Or what you can do is, you do have the disaster recovery plan. Into the disaster recovery plan, you are going to say, okay, can I have a different kind of secondary data center? So if this data center is going to go away, the responsibility is going to be taken care by the secondary data center. So this is again a management point of view, but it has to bring in the notice. So this is the information gathering what you are going to have. Once the mitigation strategy is going to be done, so you need to understand what is the, you can say, um, residual risk. After having the mitigation strategy, after getting some of the acceptance of the risk, is there any amount of risk which is available based on your vulnerabilities assessment? And if it is there, then how you are going to address? Are you going to avoid it? Are you going to accept it? And if you are going to accept, what is the impact on the business? Getting what I'm trying to say, dear students? Hello? Hello?
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
ma'am, I have a doubt here.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, you said that in the residual of risk, if it is there, if any risk is available, then it depends on the organization that how it wants to handle it or reduce it or accept it at the end of the day. But
Exactly.
ma'am, if it is accepting that particular risk, then that particular impact is still on the organization, right?
Yeah, but it is
Again,
quite
as well.
reduced. It is quite reduced.
Okay,
It is quite
ma'am,
reduced. So you need to see
ma'am,
that if the residual risk impact is more, if impact is more, you need to again build up the strategy to mitigate it. Fine,
okay.
Tanman?
Okay,
Yeah.
ma'am, can you give an example of such kind of risk?
Okay. Fine. Are you aware of the redundant array of inexpensive disk?
No, ma'am.
RAID. RAID. Are you aware of that? RAID.
Yeah.
Fine. Are you aware of the network file system?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware of the shared location or the, are you aware of the terminology redundancy
Yes, yes.
replication?
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you how exactly the things are. Data needs to be available always. If I'm working in a data center, it's as a database administrator, it's my primary responsibility that data needs to be available always. Now, what is happening? That more and more redundancy you are going to have, the infrastructure cost is going to be quite big. Fine. So generally we do not go with the red level 10 or red level 5 rather, because they are going to support more redundancy. The reason is because if the organization is going to say no, I cannot afford that much of redundancy, but I can have the regular backup schedules with me, those schedules can help me out to take care about my data availability. Fine. So I just do not want to go into more redundancy because extra infrastructure is required to take care about. So what is going to happen here? So if I'm going to say, okay, that what is the expectancy that how many times or in a year I can say that I'm going to lose this particular disk, fine, or how many times in a day or how many times in a year I can say I'm going to lose the entire array of the disk, fine. If the frequency is too far, if too high, that I'm trying to, the disk is getting failing again and again. So naturally, I need to take care about either I can, because I cannot accept this is a risk. I cannot accept it because disk is getting failed always. So I need to build an infrastructure. I need to take care about, I need to replace that particular disk. So cost is associated with that. Fine. But I can say, okay, this particular disk, there are two disks. One of the disk is replaced But one disk, one storage location is really doing great. It doesn't require the replacement till next for 7 to 9 months. I can go with this particular disk. So this is what the residual risk. Are you getting Tanmay?
Yes, ma'am, got it.
What I
Thank
am
you,
trying
ma'am.
to say. So this is a residual risk. The impact is less or being reduced, but still the risk is there. So you accept it or you avoid it for not exactly avoid it, you accept it for next 7 to 8 months. Fine? Yeah.
So, ma'am, here the time frame is a important thing. That for how
Time frame
long?
is important. Data criticality is important. The impact is important. The cost associated with his impact because wherever the business continuity comes, the cost is also involved into that.
Yeah, ma'am, got it.
Okay? Yeah. Anyone else? Himesh, Ritik, Krishnan, are you with me? Any question? Palakji,
No, ma'am.
are you able to follow me, Palakji?
Yes, ma'am. I'm trying my best.
Abhi, is everything good at your end?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Good to know. So this is what about the acceptance for the vulnerability assessment, or you can say the information gathering. Now, every organization is going to have some of the baseline associated with. Now, what is the baseline? Baseline means your systems must have minimum this kind of software, fine, for the infrastructure. For example, I'm going to say, okay, every system into the organization should be running with the Windows Service Edition with the blah 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 of service pack with these kind of security patches. Fine, this is the baseline requirement. If any of the system, if during the vulnerability assessment, if the team finds that okay, any of the system is not according to the baseline, that particular system is going to be removed from the network. It is as simple as that. Because this is a baseline requirement that okay, every system into your organization must be having these minimum software requirement to be in the network. Fine. Now, what is going to happen? I can have more requests. For example, someone has asked me, okay, you need to have Windows Server Edition, this. And someone else is actually upgraded the higher version of that particular Windows. I'm fine with the higher version. The system can be there, but lower version is not at all allowed. So you need to address this particular thing that what is the baseline for each and every infrastructure device. So here you are going to have the baseline information of all the attached devices, you can say. And so basically this is going to give you the how have you configured the things with respect to the infrastructure. Now, the second thing could be you are talking to your network administrator. I'm really talking about my baselines. Now you are talking to your network administrator and you are going to say, okay, you need to have, because this is the baseline information that you need to have 4 different subnets into the class C, let's say, or let's say let's say class C. You need to have 4 different subnets, and each subnet is going to have, some amount of the IP addresses. This is a baseline. This is really required for your organization. Is it there or not? How have you configured your DNS? Domain name services. Why? Because that is a baseline configuration. Because of the DNS server, your request is going to go outside of your entire LAN. So this you need to understand how have you configured it. Minimum configuration according to the organization policy, according to the according to whatever the standards or the baselines are. Based on that, you need to see whether everything is configured correctly or not. You need to take care about how exactly the what you can say the logs are getting generated. You need to take care about what is the place where the logs are getting, or logs are traversing. Is it according to the security policies and standards or not? So it is really depending on each organization to organization. Whether the organization with which this organization is actually doing or dealing with, it is taking care about the GDPR. Is it taking care about the GDPR? So if it is taking care about the GDPR, it's fine. But if it is not, then who is going to take care about the data loss? So this is again the information gathering before a baseline information before actually you are going to start with the vulnerabilities. Are you getting, dear students? So this, or how many ports are going to be public? How many ports are going to be open when the system is, or during the off hours or non-peak hours? How many ports are going to be closed during the non-peak hours for the different kind of services? This is again the baseline information that you need to gather before actually you start the vulnerability assessment. Are you getting, dear students? We are discussing quite interesting things. Just do not go with, okay, that I'm going to see the product and just going to see exploit all the vulnerabilities. No, I need to have the proper information, and for that only we are discussing. Any question till now?
Ma'am,
Yes, please go ahead.
ma'am, so basically, in a this kind of identification, if there is some system which has not which is not with the basic infrastructure or the security which is needed, so that will be removed from the network because it will act as a risk for the organization again, right?
Exactly, but if it is on to the higher level, I am fine. But if it is lower than the baseline level, I need to remove.
Okay.
Fine. Just look at Tanmay, that if I'm saying, okay, these many of ports of the non-default services must be closed. If all the ports are closed, I'm okay with it. Fine. But if the respective service ports are not at all closed, then this is a point of concern for me. Are you getting, Tanmay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Palakjit, were you having some question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else? Darren, Akash, Devraj,
No, ma'am.
Himesh, Ritik, Krishna.
No,
Yes. So shall we proceed ahead? So we are discussing the vulnerability assessment, and into that we have discussed the information gathering. We have discussed the baseline. Now, what we need to have, let me open my document again. And then I need to start the vulnerability scan. Now, basically, before you start with any of the vulnerability scan, you need to take care about the compliances. You need to take care about the SLAs. You need to take care about the business. And you need to take care about what is the best time when you do the vulnerability scanning. Try to understand this particular thing. Whenever you do the vulnerability scan, according to my experience, what I generally go when I discuss in the industry with respect to all those things, it is a process which actually needs to be monitored continuously. So I cannot start this particular process anytime during the day. It has to be monitored. It is again going to consume some of the resources. So because of this particular process, my system should not go into the denial of service state. So what is the right time? What is the date when I can do the things? Or if I'm going to say the product is quite big, I cannot scan the entire product at a very one day or at a 2 day. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to segregate the functionalities. I'm going to scan the product according to the functionalities. So that is you need to understand. So whenever you do the vulnerability scan, you need to take care about any of the compliances. You need to take care about what you can say, the time and date. You need to take care about, let's talk about the, the segregation of the functionalities. And so those are the things you need to take care about the customer base, that when the customer is going to access. So those are the things what you need to have. So there are the different kind of things. So whenever the user would like to access your web service, so first of all you need to see where I can web service is running onto a one particular URL. That URL is nothing but the endpoint. Is the firewall is placed onto the endpoint? Yes or no? Which kind of IP addresses the firewalls are accepting? Which kind of subnetting the firewall is rejecting? What are the rules onto the firewalls? How exactly the attacks are happening if the firewalls are not into the place? So that's what we discussed, that the system is going to start from the user perspective, that what are the different kind of processes which are going to access your system, right? So this you need to understand, and after this particular thing you need to create a report. So we won't be discussing right now the report about it, because I need to take care about your dissertation project to understand the vulnerabilities as well as creation of the report. But whenever you create a report, so what the report must be having, if you have seen, I have given you the CVE details or common vulnerabilities database is there, which is going to tell you the name of the vulnerabilities, the date when the vulnerability is being reported, the functionality where it is being found, the how the impact of that particular vulnerability is, that how strong it is. Then it is going to have, do you require the authentication or authorization to take care about, or you need to, and who has reported this particular vulnerability. So everything is there. So if you go to the CVE page again, you will be able to see all those things together, fine. And whenever you take care about the vulnerabilities, it's a suggestion you are doing. It is not the implementation. Please take a note. As a vulnerability assessment, whatever you are doing, you are preparing a report and you are going to submit it to management. No implementation is really going to be done. Implementation is done once the management approves, and then accordingly the IT team or the software developers or whatever the entire team or the whatever the infrastructure engineers, they are responsible to implement, not you as a vulnerability assessor. Are you getting my point, dear students? Yeah. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So now after this particular thing, I'm going to give you how exactly the OWASP is handling the different kind of attacks. So before that, just answer these two questions right now. The questions are, the first is, according to your dissertation project, perform the information gathering as a first step in vulnerability assessment. The second is, so every point you need to take care about. Again, according explain the CVE database with each parameter or each you can say attribute for working. Yeah, so I'm giving you 10 to 15 minutes. So just take care about, you need to address both the questions right now. And after 10 to 15 minutes, we'll take a break and we'll start the discussion. So right now, if any help is needed, I'm here. You are required to have the written answer right now for these two questions. Understood, dear students? Hello.
Ma'am, what is CVE database?
CV is a common vulnerability database. So just open up onto internet, you can see the CVE. It's a common vulnerability database. So you can see what is. So basically how to report the vulnerability. So you are going to get from the idea from the CVE. We have discussed the CVE in the very first few sessions where I have shown you the vulnerabilities of the Moodle. Ask me any question, I am here itself.
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
ma'am, the second question we have to do with respect to the first one.
No, with the reporting, that if you are able to find the, you can do with respect to the first one as well, but you need to explain that what are the parameters when you are reporting one of the vulnerabilities, how the CVE database is handling those parameters. Okay, so these are the parameters, and that's why I ask you to open up the CVE.
Okay, ma'am.
There shouldn't be any problem. You can always discuss with me. Any question? Are you able to write?
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
ma'am, how in information gathering, how are we supposed to find the cost of assets and their value?
Yes, cost of the assets. So when you say you can assume right now anything, but just make sure to have the perception. You need to understand which asset is getting exploited or which asset is getting exposed while accessing the data. Fine, Danan? The
Yes,
perception
ma'am.
should be like that. I hope I answered your question, Darren.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
ma'am, I have a few questions.
Who is it?
Ma'am, Akash.
Yes, Akash. Go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am, first is what are the strategies during backup of data? Like, I don't think it's relevant to this, but how do backups start? Like, how do a system with an automated system know when to start a back
Okay.
during an attack? Like,
Okay.
or
So just hold on for a second. Just give me a second. Hello.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this thing I need to take care about. Again, the backup and recovery strategies are really depending on how nicely or how critical your data is. So based on, let me open up my document again. So based on the backup and recovery, I can have these things with me right now, which is going to be a hot site, you can say. Then I'm going to have warm site. Then I'm going to have, let's say, cold site. And then I'm going to have, there is one more as far as I do remember. Okay, let me, okay. The name is like this, site on wheel. Okay, so let me actually give you the details of what exactly the hot site is and how exactly the things are supposed to move with the hot site, with the cold site, with the warm site, and this is the actually a requirement when you go with the disaster recovery. So as a vulnerability assessment as well, you need to take care about what are the disaster recovery plan. So based on that, the impact can be analyzed, right? So basically, when you say the hot site is nothing but if your database is going to go down, immediately within 2 to 3 hours, you can say the data is going to be recovered. That means that particular site, this is a replicated site, this particular site is going to have always the required infrastructure along with the data, right? And whatever the whatever the important assets are required to bring that data up, it is going to have that. Implementing the hot site requires more infrastructure cost as compared to the warm site. So warm site is you can take care about the recovery period is more as compared to the hot site, fine. But again, you can say instead of 2 to 3 hours, I can go with the, let's say, 8 to 10 hours, right? So basically, it is going to have what you can say, you need to restore the backup, you need to restore the backup, and you need to bring that particular backup up and running before the business operations can be restored. So business will be out of the functionality for 8 to 9 hours till the database is up and running. The next is going to be the cold site. Cold site generally requires more than 24 hours, let's say, but less than 72 hours as per my information. So it requires more time. Again, it is really depending on the way the data is going to have, the way the database or the backup is going to be restored, and like that. The infrastructure cost for the cold site is going to be quite less as compared to the hot site. The reason is because hot site always requires the logs to be updated immediately as soon as the transactions are done onto the primary site. Now there is one more, as far as I remember, the site on the wheel, but I do not exactly remember the name right now. But the concept is like that, that if the what you can say, if the business operation goes down, some of the site on the wheels means that I need not to have the the physical location for any of the hot site, like for any of the hot site or warm site or cold site. What I can have one moving data center with me. The capability of their data center is that it is going to see the primary business operations which are really required and which needs to be up and running immediately. So it is going to, it is quite small, but it is going to take only those many of operations which are really required for the business instead of the complete database store. Fine. So Akash, are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, so all these things are dependent on the availability and the business continuity, right?
No,
So,
all these things are depending on what is the organization goal or the objective and how critical the data is. So based on that, I can have the backup strategies. Maybe I can have the, once in a week I can have the backup, or I can have the backup, full backup once in a week, or incremental backup twice in a week. Again, based on how much exploitation can be done and what is the impact of the respective vulnerability for my data. Fine,
Okay.
Akash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I had another question.
Yes.
Most of the some like lot of vulnerabilities are due to outdated softwares,
Yeah.
and the developers and the company are aware of the fact. So why don't
Mhm.
they patch it up when they get a new upgrade?
Why don't they?
Why don't they patch up
Okay.
each
Fine.
version has some of the other vulnerability. So if they
Yes.
patch up during that time, the chances of attacks will be less, right?
Right, exactly. So let me tell you the different aspect of it. Suppose I am running a database which is running on the Oracle 12c, which is the on the cloud. Fine. I am running a very nice database and everything. Now, as soon as the Oracle is going to release the security patch, I am really not sure about as a database administrator whether that particular security patch, how my data is going to be impacted with that security patch. Try to understand, Akash. And now, if I'm not really aware of, so I must be see that how long this particular database can go without updating the security patch. Fine. How long or what is the impact if I do not run the security patch onto my current existing system? What could be the impact? And what is the loss and what is the cost as well as the value of those many of assets if the exploitation happens? Based on that only I can decide whether I need to have the security update or not. But sometimes I need to do it because I can say that, okay, this is quite mandate. The reason behind that is because whatever the data this particular functionality is accessing, that particular data is quite important asset for me. I cannot lose it. So I need to immediately do the security patch update. So it's again, it is really depending on, because for me, if the availability is more important, so I need to take care about that, how the security patch is going to impact my availability. Fine, Akash?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Any other question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Are you able to write these answer to these two questions with respect to your dissertation?
Yes, ma'am. One more.
Yeah. Varun, any question from your side?
No, ma'am.
Fine, then we'll have a 10 minutes break right now. If there are no questions, we will have a 10 minutes break and we'll start it again. Fine. So let's have a break. It's 11:35. We'll be here at 11:45.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, dear students. I'm back. Yeah, any question? Any question, Varun? I hope you all are here.
No, ma'am. I think my mic wasn't working that time. I just was checking.
Right. Okay. So, shall we move ahead now? All the students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So let me share my screen again. This is from OWASP. Let me share the link on the chat window. Fine. Are you able to see? List of attack. First is binary planting. When the attacker places a binary file containing the malicious code to a local or remote file system in order for a vulnerable application to load and execute. There are various ways. Now see here how exactly you need to take care about. Insecure access permissions on a local directory. If you do remember, I have discussed this particular thing with you initially in the starting of the sessions as well, that how you are taking care about the access permissions. On a local directory, local attacker to plant the malicious binary in the trusted location. A typical example is application installer not properly configuring the permission on the directory used to store application data. So if you do remember, we have discussed this through while we were discussing about the Clark-Wilson model, which is going to say that a process is supposed to be executed always in its confined domain. If the process is crossing the confined domain, that means it is trying to access those storage locations for which it is not having any kind of permission. One application may be used for planting the malicious binary in another application. For example, so they have given an example, but for me, if I say the HTTP read and write is putting the binaries into the FTP location. FTP is again a trusted location where the FTP service is going to be executed. But when I say the HTTP service is able to access the VSFTPD service location, I'm going to put the malicious code into that. That means that code can be executed as soon as any of the trigger event is happening. So any of the logic is going to be, any of the logic is getting fulfilled, or any of the event is getting fulfilled, the trigger for that particular attack is going to be executed. So that you need to understand. And that is a major reason that every process runs into its confined domain. Until unless the trust is being built up with the location as well as the process cannot access the location. And if you do remember, we have discussed this particular thing when we were discussing about the SE Linux as well during the what you can say is a Clark-Wilson model. Now, examples that insecure access permission based attack. Local user A plants the malicious library in C application. Local user B launches the application which loads and executes the malicious this particular file instead of the legitimate one. Fine, so it is if I'm okay that this particular attack is not actually taking care about any or not actually impacting any of my data, I'm okay with that. But you need to understand that you have given the insecure access permission to the processes, and because of that only the things are happening. So let me go down. Yeah. So are you able to open that particular page at your end, students? OWASP, what the link I have shared?
Yes,
Please
ma'am.
open it up. Yeah. So related threat agents are intranet attacker as well as internet attacker. So let me go back. You can see now the SQL injection. Ask the database true or false question, determines the answer is based on the application response. I do not remember exactly whether we have discussed this thing or not. How exactly the SQL string is getting changed by the attacker where the condition is always going to be true with respect to the authentication. So if your application demands for some of the credentials, and I'm going to put that credentials into the where clause or some other condition which is always going to be true. So in that particular case, the SQL string always bypass the security test. Why? Because the condition is being like that and I can access the data. So I do not know, did I discuss with you this particular thing? That how exactly the condition is going to be true? Hello?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so let me share my document again. Yeah. So suppose I'm writing one particular select statement, and then I have put here from class, and then I have put here their class as well. And what I'm going to say, where username equals to dollar username, so whichever the value of the username, and password equals to dollar password, so whatever the encrypted password are. As simple as that, I have put this username. Now since I'm a developer, so I need to have I need to take care about some of the testing as well. So what I have done, so let's say suppose I'm putting here the username is Varun, fine, and here after that I'm not happy with the password. So let's say as an attacker, I'm just going to remove this particular string. I do not want the password right now, but I cannot say the username because for me the username is Varun, but I can just manipulate this particular string, or I can say if the username is not Varun, if something else comes into the picture, it should not, it should be able to pass this particular test. So what I'm going to say, where 1 equals to 1. As soon as I say that, so if this condition is getting false, so still this condition is always going to be true because 1 is always going to be equal to 1. Are you getting, my dear students? So this is a kind of SQL injection where you have just changed your SQL string to bypass the authentication. So in this case, it is going to allow each and every user. Are you with me, dear students? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
This is quite interesting things, don't you think so? That how exactly the things are happening. Try to see. You're writing a SQL statement, you're writing a HTML, you're writing a CSS scripts. So everywhere, the way you are going to code, the way your behavior is, it is going to be open up the platform for the different kind of vulnerabilities, isn't it?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, where will I put these queries?
You are going to put your queries into your program.
No, I understand, but when I'm injecting this query into my SQL, then where will I put this query?
Okay.
Because
So,
that time I don't have access to the source code.
Exactly. So you need to understand two things here. Either you follow the network traffic to see how exactly or you follow the application layer where exactly this particular layer query is being formed, or let me tell you, or there are the reverse engineering tools. There are the reverse engineering tools Those reverse engineering tools give you the complete understanding about how the code is being written. The code is going to be with you, and you will get to know where exactly the point where I can inject this query. Are you getting me? What I'm trying to say? Or I can, if from one particular, so try to see how your query looks like when you are moving from one particular page to another page. Where does the query gets formed? When you are going to follow, you are going to, publish the report onto your web browser. From somewhere the data is coming in. Where exactly that particular query is formed. So you need to see the XML pages. Are you aware of that when the service is getting transferred from one web page to the other web page, it is with respect to the data is getting transferred in terms of XML. Are you aware of this? Are you aware of this?
No, ma'am. I don't know.
Yeah. So please, so into your dissertation project as well, if you are developing any of the web application, and when you are clicking on to one page and moving to the other page, please look at how the data is getting transmitted. Fine. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, ma'am, but that's why we use
Yes, ma'am.
prepared SQL queries, right?
That's why we use the prepared SQL query, as well as we never do the what you can say is a hard code value into any of the queries or any of the program. Are you getting my point? So that is, but these are, even if you do not do it purposefully or intentionally, but unintentionally you can perform. See, you are onto the maintenance project, so you need to you need to actually open up those maintenance door for your program. So because of that, you may change the queries like this, Varun. Fine. So it is totally up to you. So before, even if you are on to maintenance project, you do not want to go to the office to see any of the issue, you would like to solve it from your home. So you need to make sure that you are keeping the door open. By that you can enter into your software. Fine, Varun?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay. Shall we proceed ahead? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting, but again, I'm repeating the same thing. Once you know the security, before doing any of the thing, before doing a single line of code itself, you are going to see what is the impact of it. What is the impact of it? If I do such kind of things, what could be the different impacts? So here, an attacker may verify whether a consent request returned true or false. With the given ID as a parameter, attacker may perform a couple of simple tests to determine if the page is vulnerable to the SQL injections attack. That's why I ask you. See here, ID equals to 2 and ID and 1 equals to 2. Are you able to see?
Ma'am, are you sharing the screen?
Oh, you're fine, fine. Just hold on. Let me share the screen. Yeah. Just look at. So these are the ways by which I think, Ahmed, you can get more support for my answer using this particular thing. See here, ID equals to 2. This is a SQL query. Fine, Ahmed?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So now I am really tired. I'm continuously talking for last 3 hours. Any question? Any question, dear students?
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, I'm still not able to do that second question.
What is the second question?
Explain the CV database with each
CV
attribute.
database. Okay, just hold on. Let me open it up. Let me share my screen again. Are you able to see CV? I have opened it Moodle. Fine. I have opened it for Moodle. See here. Score, publish date, ID, vulnerability type, authentication is required or not, complexity, it is going to impact on availability, confidentiality, and integrity. Are you able to see? You only need to answer these things. Are we? This is a simple, so any of the product you can find, so you try to figure out any of the product, you can find the vulnerabilities over here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Fine. So brute force attack, let's go for that. See here. Try to see.
Ma'am, I guess the basics of brute force attack you explained in the previous class.
Yeah. But see how exactly it is going to be taken care by.
Okay, ma'am.
Here the risk factors. Try to see those pages. Fine. Very nice thing. So Avi and all other students, please look at the OWASP document. They have given the very nice, please follow it because we are all continuously going to refer for each and every concept. Now after today's lecture, I think next lecture is the next week. So we are going to talk about the, the access matrix. Along with that, we are going to talk about the, the authentication in detail.
Ma'am, what? Access or access?
Access is ACCESS.
Okay, okay.
Fine. Okay. Any question now? Let me, actually, I want you to talk to me because I'm very bad with my throat right now. Uh, let's have this particular example. Example is like that. What you want to do after having the information of vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. What are your job roles? What you are looking at? Or how exactly you would like to progress ahead into your career? Can you discuss with me? I'm very bad with my, the throat right now, so I'm not able to talk much. So if you can tell me so that I can change the perception of delivery in that way. Yeah? All the students?
Ma'am, I didn't get the question what you asked.
No. The question what I'm asking, is what are your career goals or career option where you would like to move by having the knowledge of the VAPT and what you would like to know so that I can change my delivery style according to that.
Ma'am, I guess many of us are interested in various domains, so it depends. So it's better as you are just going through the basic and in a general way. That's better,
Mhm.
ma'am, because we are able, at least I am able to understand it very well.
Okay, fine, fine. So, what is your focus, Tanmay? Do you think so that with this particular thing you can move ahead, or shall I change my perception
Ma'am,
according to your career goals?
Ma'am, right now, in this past 10 months, whatever I just gained some knowledge, I got an interest in this full stack web. So, and
Mhm.
in cloud. So I am going ahead with some projects from those
Mhm.
communities and all.
Okay.
But
Okay.
in
So,
that,
yeah, coming back to your interest with the full stack web. So basically, you need to apply each and everything with respect to the security. So even if you are the entrepreneur, no one is going to take your product until unless it goes with some security benchmarks or the baselines.
yeah.
Yeah, so that you need to address.
So, ma'am, here again, the kind of the firewalls and all, like the security part is
Mhm.
it is a very big role when I'm creating a software and all, right?
Mhm. Okay. So,
Because for example, if I'm getting a software or developing a software
mhm,
for online business itself, then
mhm.
again the data should be very crucial to me as an
Exactly.
organization.
Mhm.
So again, I have to make in each and every possibility an assessment of the vulnerabilities which can be
Okay.
made out from the
So
software.
there is a concept of web application firewall. If we get a time, we will discuss that particular thing. That what do you mean by web application firewall? So those are the firewalls who takes care about any of the exploitation of your vulnerability to the outside world. Fine. So who really takes care about? So those web application firewall, if we get a time in the next lecture, for sure we are going to discuss. Right? Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Anything else? Yeah. All other students. Avi, Del, Darren. Yeah. Can you please let me know so that I can change according to
Ma'am,
what
can
you
I
want?
ask you one thing?
Yes, please, Tanmay.
Ma'am, the thing which you just said, that is the web application firewall, that can be
Mhm.
also applied with aspect to the clouds, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
it can. Yeah.
got it, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Del, Darren, Devraj. Yeah, come on. Please discuss with me, so that I can mold my sessions according to that. Because there are millions of tools, hundred of tools. Every tool we cannot cover into the class. Or every concept I cannot cover into the concept I can cover, but like for example, Tanmay is saying about the web application. So just now we said, okay, we will discuss the web application firewall. So according to that, any specific requirement from your side, all the students? Hello, Ritik, Janhavi, Jatin. Come on, dear students. Palakjit, Rohit. Rohit, I believe you were doing some of the projects. Can you tell me your own specific requirement? Yes, Rohit. I hope I am audible to you. Satvik.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So what you would like to move, how you would like to move ahead with your career? Where I can
For my
change
career,
my
I
delivery so that I can cover that concept.
I would like to go into website development as well as.
So website development. So what you want to do in the website development for which particular operation? So you need to take care about the input validation. Satvik,
Yes, yes, ma'am.
what we have discussed on the other day, input validation. You need to take care about the authentication. you need to take care about how exactly your data from one page to other page it is transmitting. What are the encryption algorithm? Okay, if someone asks you, you are being asked, for say suppose I'm giving you a case study, that you are being asked, okay, that do the vulnerability assessment, but the systems or the employees or the organization is using its own encryption algorithm. So, do you think so? As a vulnerability assessor, you need to allow this?
We can allow it actually, ma'am. If their encryption method is good, we can allow them.
Okay, fine. Anyone else? Fine. So, you need to take care about two things altogether. The encryption method or encryption algorithm, if anyone is using, developed by its own. So this is the first thing what you need to disallow. Encryption algorithm or any of the symmetric or asymmetric key algorithms must be public. Key should be private, but the algorithms must be public. The reason behind that is, if the algorithms are going to be public, more and more vulnerabilities can be tested onto that particular algorithm, and it can be reported so that the algorithm can make itself more and more stronger. So please make sure that is a major thing, that we do not go with any of the algorithm which is developed by organization for the encryption. Are you getting what I am trying to say? Dear students, Satvik, I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah? Okay. Shubit, what about you? How you are moving? Shubit? I hope I am audible to you, Shubit.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
So how would you like to move?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
So how would you like to move with respect to your career? The objective of this discussion, so that I can cover those concepts which will help you to build your career.
Ma'am, as of now, I am thinking to move into securities.
In security, in what sense you are targeting?
Ma'am, as of now, I have. Ma'am, can I type?
Yeah, please. What happened? You are not doing good?
Ma'am, my throat has caught up with an infection.
Sure, sure, sure. Go ahead.
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
ma'am, I just want to ask you about a thing. It's not related to the syllabus, but as you are discussing about the projects we are working on, so
Yeah.
ma'am, actually, recently, like in past 1 month, I started a project with one of my teammates.
Um,
We started developing a web application again, but it was by using REST API. So, ma'am, for the kind of data transfers and all, if we want to create a very secure environment or the pathway, so, ma'am, how can it be created? Can you give us some idea?
no, I did not understand. What did you say?
Ma'am, we are actually creating a web application. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a online thing, online shopping thing. But for that, ma'am, we start like it was an idea that we can use the REST API. So for
Mm-hmm.
that, ma'am, as file transfer and all, like the data will be communicated between the devices, right? That's quite
Mm-hmm.
obvious. So for that, if we want to create a very secure pathway or a secure environment, how can we create it?
Okay, so rest. When you say rest, it is okay, fine. Let me tell you two things right now. Whenever see, you are going to access the cloud. Cloud is nothing but again the web applications running.
Yeah.
And when you go through the REST API, so REST is nothing but the architecture, fine, and it follows some of it. The JSON API could be the part of REST. Their XML API can be the part of REST, and so on and so forth. So it's basically an architecture. So, and there is one more API which is named as SOAP, SOAP. So
Yeah.
SOAP carries each and every information into it. Whereas when you are moving with the public cloud, you just use the REST for the security reasons. Because it is architecture, it just carries the user information, nothing, any specific data into it. Right? So those are the things what you need to understand to take care about that how when you go with respect to the multi-deployment or heterogeneous deployment, where you need to take care about the single sign-on, or you do not want the username and the password to be typed again and again. So if you get a time, so go through the SAML, SAML, Secure Assertion Markup Language, go through the OAuth, which is the Open Authentication, Tanmay, and go via the OpenID. So they will help you. So basically the SAML, not exactly the OAuth as well. The SAML is using the TLS protocol to actually carry the data over the REST API. Fine.
Ma'am, TLS will basically just make that communication more secure, right? The data packets basically.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Thank
so
you, ma'am.
SAML is being used, yeah. Fine, anything else?
No, ma'am, not right now. Thank you, ma'am. I just wanted some idea because I was not getting into my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anything else? Okay. So, dear students, I hope you are able to get what I'm trying to give you or what we are discussing. Any question is really welcome, and to understand how really we are supposed to move. So, let's have the attendance now, and we'll stop here. Let me stop the recording.